Hello and welcome to episode 2 of our still unnamed podcast. It's not for a lack of trying. We did try to come up with a title for this. Maybe for episode 3 we'll have a title. But my name is Joel.
And I'm Martin.
Today we will be reviewing Bad Lieutenant, Port of Call, New Orleans.
A wonderful remake.
Starring Nicolas Cage. When did this come out? Is this year?
This is 2009.
2009.
It's
Okay,
a
great.
copyrighted date here on the side.
Martin, I believe you did not see the original Bad Lieutenant. Is that correct?
That is 100% accurate.
I did. I actually own the original. And just a quick synopsis of that one. Bad Lieutenant is essentially about the titular Bad Lieutenant starring Harvey Keitel. And he's not as bad as you think. I think he's addicted to drugs. He has a gambling problem. And he does some bad things to innocent people, which I'll talk about that later, as it sort of pertains to this movie.
Well, you said in comparison to how bad Nicolas Cage is as a lieutenant in this movie, Harvey Keitel, I guess, is a morally confused lieutenant?
Yeah. Well, this movie is neither a sequel nor a remake. It's completely separate, and we'll talk about that in a second. Can you give us a quick plot synopsis of Bad Lieutenant?
Yeah, sure. Okay, the movie starts out with Nicolas Cage working as a lieutenant on a homicide investigative team, and it starts out with a back injury where he is prescribed Vicodin. From there, it's a slippery slope down a never-ending cocaine, crack, heroin, marijuana, Vicodin. I didn't see any hallucinogens, but I tried to keep track of all the drugs he took. Whatever, lost track maybe after 15 minutes. And he is trying to solve a murder of 5 innocent people in a post-Katrina New Orleans. And he does that by trying to take down a quite influential drug dealer through essentially breaking every law and moral code that any officer of the law should uphold.
That all sounds pretty straightforward. That sounds like a pretty average, simple police procedural, law and order kind of plot line. But the reality is a little different. In the very first scene of the movie, Nicolas Cage and fat Val Kilmer are they're rescuing somebody who's drowning in a prison.
That's unfair. It's more like a chubby Val.
He's chubby Val Kilmer. He's not Val Batman Kilmer anymore.
No, he's not.
And
there's, I don't know. He was never Batman to me.
Okay, well, the first thing that starts off in this movie is him jumping into water and rescuing a prisoner from drowning at the beginning of the movie, and then immediately it cuts to him being injured. I was really unclear whether or not
the injury occurred there.
What broke his back or something, him jumping in the water. According to Wikipedia, it is, but I didn't get that sense at all from this movie.
Either did I. The scene jumped immediately from being in a dank, dark prison with a man drowning, I'm assuming from Hurricane Katrina, to him being in a sunny doctor's office going, well, am I going to have back pain forever? Come on, man, work with me.
You know, one of the questions I had in my mind when I was watching this movie is, how many times have we seen Nicolas Cage play a cop or some sort of law and order kind of guy? What can you think of the top of your head?
The first, law or prison related movie that comes to just law related would be Con Air, because he played
a federal marshal.
No.
What was he?
That was John Cusack's character. He was in the military. He was a military officer who was put in prison for killing somebody in a bar fight.
I think that's the last Michael Bay movie that I actually enjoyed. I think.
I disagree with you. I never enjoyed any Michael Bay movie.
Okay, what was he in The Rock?
Why are we bringing Michael Bay back into this?
I'm looking at his filmography, and back to back, he did The Rock, and then immediately after he did Con Air. So, well, I don't know. I don't remember those movies at all. Like, 8mm, he was a cop.
You don't remember The Rock?
No, it's been so long. I wiped that out of my mind.
The Rock. He was an FBI
little
agent,
catchphrases and stuff. Okay, Snake Eyes. Remember that?
Yes.
Private investigator. 8mm. Private investigator again.
He's kind of gotten away from that role and jumped into a role.
These movies are so bad.
Now he's a man that knows something that no one else will believe, and only he can stop, inform, save, or I guess in the case of knowing, get incinerated at the end.
Okay, he was a cop in World Trade Center. He was a cop in Kick-Ass.
I guess this is him getting back to his roots.
Yeah.
Bad Lieutenant, Port of Call, New Orleans is Nicolas Cage getting back to his acting roots as a over-the-top facial actor. That sounds like a porn job, facial actor. But
now this movie was somewhat controversial in its creation because the original movie was directed by a guy called Abel Ferrara. He did the first. With the sequel, what ended up happening was, from the story that I heard, was that the producer of the first movie bought the rights to the name Bad Lieutenant, which gave him the ability to make any movie with just the title Bad Lieutenant, and he would just have a different lieutenant every time. So essentially, we have this Bad Lieutenant multiverse with a different lieutenant in a different city. So the original director was not happy about this at all because they completely shut him out. He has nothing to do with this new movie whatsoever.
You were telling me that the directing...
It's directed by Werner Herzog, who is usually a documentarian.
You were telling me that Werner Herzog,
Man.
when he was directing it, and I guess talking to Cage about his acting, were really doing more of like almost a self-parody of Cage's over-the-top acting. Did it feel like that?
In parts.
In parts. I'd be lying if I said that it didn't at certain scenes, but overall, no. Maybe I'm just used to him making ridiculous faces.
I guess this is the perfect opportunity for me to ask you, like, what do you think of Nicolas Cage as an actor? We have a lot of experience with his work.
Nicolas Cage is a very physical actor to the point where it's forced. The way that he does his hunched shoulders forward, leaning in, constantly moving and gyrating in some weird way while he's talking to somebody is maybe to mask his inability to convey emotion with his speaking. I mean, he's definitely conveying something with his facial features, but I don't know if it's emotion.
Yeah, one of the big plot points in this movie was that Nicolas Cage was doing drugs continuously, and that altered his personality towards the course of the movie. And you'd made a list, right, of what drugs he was taking. What was he on? Vicodin,
cocaine, crack, heroin, marijuana. Then he went to straight, pure,
right? Pure cocaine.
Pure cocaine, uncut. Base. I'm going to separate that because
he had a lucky crack pipe. You remember that?
He did have a lucky crack pipe. Apparently, it's revealed in the end of the movie that this lucky crack pipe was taken from the scene of the crime on purpose, like it was planned, so that he'd get DNA evidence of the person who committed the murders.
All right. You can hold that thought.
which is unbelievable because he does so many drugs. He can barely talk at certain points in the movie. So I refuse to believe that he had this master plan to do an enormous amount of drugs to get DNA on a crack pipe. That's pretty far fetched for me.
Nicolas Cage's acting was extreme in this movie. You never know which Nicolas Cage you're going to get, depending on which movie you watch. You're either going to get the subdued, dramatic,
you're going to get
pensive Nicolas Cage, or the extreme, over-the-top, like this movie. And there's a third Nicolas Cage, which is just phoning it in, Sorcerer's Apprentice.
There's a phone-in, boorish Nicolas Cage where he talks kind of like this to everyone. He's like, almost like a guttural moan when he talks to everyone. And he's upset with someone because he's trying to teach them something. That's the third Nicolas Cage.
Those are the movies I think he makes just for a paycheck because he is having tax trouble.
Really, he's gonna stay in a cell with Wesley Snipes. Just hang out with him. They can talk about making Blade 7.
He owes the IRS a lot of money, and
I don't understand what's going on with these actors and not being able to pay taxes. Is there a different tax code for actors?
Well, listen to some of the things that Nicolas Cage...
Surely they have accountants.
Well, Cage has spent his money on some pretty interesting things. Listen to this. In 2007, Nicolas Cage's shopping spree entailed the purchase of 3 additional residences at the total cost of more than $33 million. The purchase of 22 automobiles.
What was the year?
9 Rolls Royces.
What was the year that he purchased the residence, just out of curiosity?
2007. 12 purchases of expensive jewelry and 47 purchases of artwork and exotic items. And here's my favorite one. One of those exotic items was a dinosaur skull of a Tarbosaurus of which Nicolas Cage paid $276,000 in an auction after winning a bidding contest against Leonardo DiCaprio. What do you make of that?
I don't know. Did they go out to the parking lot and measure their dicks afterwards? Like, I don't really understand what the point of that is.
Don't you want a dinosaur skull? Right in your living room?
Only if it's a Tarbosaurus, I guess.
I don't know. What is that? I've never even heard of such a thing.
I don't know. And unless the dinosaur skull is a velociraptor or a T-Rex, no one's going to know what the fuck it is. I'm gonna be like, what the fuck is this thing?
I got a picture of a Tarbosaurus skull. That's pretty cool.
Is it carnivorous or is it a herbivore?
It is.
Is it an omnivore? Does it eat both plant and meat?
I'll tell you right now. It lived in Asia 70 to 65 million years ago at the end of the late Cretaceous period.
But what does it look like?
Large, sharp teeth. It was a large bipedal predator weighing more than a ton.
Does it have T-Rex arms where it looks like it can't?
Yes, it does.
It does have like little vestigial growths on the
side
of his body.
Yeah, it does. It's taller than a man. So that's what Nicolas Cage is doing right now. He blew all his money on dinosaur bones, and I think he bought a castle too. I remember hearing about that. So he needs money.
You're gonna have to substantiate that castle purchase, because I don't believe you. The residences, one of them is a castle.
He once owned the medieval castle of Schloss Neidsen. There you go. Okay. And then after that,
one word for that: stupendous.
Also in 2007, the actor purchased Midford Castle in Somerset, England. 2 castles.
He was researching his role for Sorcerer's Apprentice.
He's the Sorcerer's Apprentice. He really
lives in the castle. He lives his role. He's that good. He's a method actor.
Yeah, I'm really split on whether or not I like Nicolas Cage or not. I really don't know.
All right, well, let me ask you this question then. When you see a movie trailer and Nicolas Cage first shows up in it, what is your emotional response?
I scoff.
Okay, so then you're saying that you're out on whether or not you like him. Mm-hmm. But your first initial reaction to seeing him in a trailer is laughter.
Yeah, at this point.
So wouldn't it be fair to say that you dislike it?
Is it too hard to say that he's become self-parody right now? Like,
that's what this movie is.
He plays Nicolas Cage. He plays himself.
Nicolas Cage.
He plays
as
an
Nicolas
extreme
Cage.
version of himself. More often than not.
I wouldn't be surprised if that's how he is in real life. Sans drugs, he just naturally has retarded facial expressions whenever he speaks to people. Do you think Francis Ford Coppola is embarrassed to be related to him? How about that?
I think he's proud of of his whatever. Yeah, if that's the case, then Cage is related to Jason Schwartzman.
Yeah, he is.
And Sofia Coppola. That's a very powerful
acting family
right there. I want to talk about the tone in this movie just a little bit. This movie was very serious. Even though everything that happened in it was extremely over the top, absurd, and ridiculous, at no point did they wink at the camera or laugh or anything like that. Like, everything that happened was sincere, very sincere. It was really happening. None of it was like wink, wink, ha ha, look at this. Even though it was laughable, which I did laugh a lot. What did you think of that?
I laughed for sure. You're right. It never broke down the fourth wall. Did Herzog do it on purpose? I want to say he did, since you gave in that little tidbit that his directing for Nicolas Cage's acting was, you got to let the hog loose.
Yeah, he was.
I want to say that this was absolutely a self-parody of Cage's over-the-top antics.
Did you like Herzog's directing? He did a lot of really bizarre stuff.
If you're asking me in particular, the iguana cam and the gator cam, did I like that? I don't know. Not really. There was literally a scene that was 3 minutes long where it was in the mouth of an iguana.
Oh yeah.
The fuck did that have to do with anything?
I don't know what purpose that served.
It didn't serve any. It annoyed me, and then I laughed for like maybe the first 30 seconds, and then it became annoying. Okay, so this movie does something that I've noticed recently and that you brought to my attention. It used teal orange filters for the camera itself.
That seems to be an epidemic lately. If you look at any big Hollywood blockbuster that's come out in the past like 2 years or so, the color palette of almost all these movies, it's teal and orange. Whenever they're walking around, everything is color graded to being teal. When they're outside, everything is orangey. Like Transformers is like this.
Transformers 2 is the
whole thing.
number one offender.
This movie was pretty much teal from beginning to end.
It was, and I guess originally, a little history on that, it was first started by the Coen brothers. They pioneered the technique when they first digitally recorded an entire movie. I believe it was Oh Brother, Where Art Thou? And they used it in that, and it looked good because the Coen brothers are good directors. But now it's gotten to the point where, obviously, a human being's skin has an orangey tint to it, so they're going to make the background teal so the people pop, I guess, a little bit to make it visually pleasing. It's gotten to the point where it's muting the background to the point where I can't even make out where they are sometimes if they're in a dark room. Even the back of the DVD, look at how orange his face is.
Yeah.
That is outrageous. It looks like he's on fire. And then the iguana, which is supposed to be green, is solid blue.
All right. What was the point of the iguanas in this movie? What purposes did they serve? Throughout the course of this movie, iguanas appear constantly, and Nicolas Cage is the only person that can see them. What does that mean?
I wasn't able to figure that out. I actually wasn't able to sleep last night after I saw the movie.
You were just thinking about iguanas.
I was just thinking about iguanas all night. I don't know. What did you think the purpose of the iguanas were?
Let's do something weird. Let's have something quirky here. An iguana there. I don't know.
Let's take this otherwise asinine movie and put something artistic in it.
Yeah.
Was it all right? Here's a good question though. Was the iguana and the iguana cam itself art for art's sake in this movie? Since Herzog is a director that usually does documentaries, so he doesn't really get a chance to do artistic or not artistic, but experimental things with his directing, perhaps.
Yeah, I'm not that well versed in all his work, so I can't really judge him on that. But I definitely thought it was pointless having the camera inside the iguana's mouth and like swinging around and Nicolas Cage looking down at the iguana. That was really pointless. I thought it didn't add anything to the movie.
I liked when he slapped the iguana.
Yeah, that was pretty good. One of the problems I had with this thing was that I kind of wanted this movie to be all in. Like I wanted him to just be on a rampage from beginning to end. There's a lot of downtime in this movie. It dragged. Would you say that? You think it dragged?
Every scene where he went back to his home to visit his father, I could have took like maybe a little 10-minute power nap, woke back up for the rest of the movie.
I could have done without all that stuff. And, Stifler's mom was in there.
Stifler's mom was in there.
All right, let's talk about some of the people that were in this movie.
Does Stifler's mom play an alcoholic in every movie she's in?
She plays like a fat, boorish, drunk kind of person. Usually. That's her thing. That's her go-to.
She's drunk in every movie I've seen her in.
All right, let's talk about some of the people that were in this movie. Eva Mendes. How do you think she did?
Her acting was decent. She looked physically gross.
I don't know. Come on.
No, okay. On an Eva Mendes scale, she looked gross for Eva Mendes.
Okay.
Then later on in the movie, she decides to go to rehab, and afterwards looks extremely attractive.
My big problem with Eva Mendes is my same problem with the movie. See if you recall a movie from a couple years ago called The Girl Next Door.
Yeah.
Remember this movie?
Yeah.
There's a movie where in this movie, Eva Mendes played a prostitute. In The Girl Next Door, the main girl was a porn star. Both movies, we have two women that both play sexual, like people in sex professions, and they talk about it constantly.
They prefer to be called ladies of the night.
Yeah, sure. And at no point in the movie do you actually see them
performing any sexual act
whatsoever.
At all. Yeah.
Not even any nudity at all.
It's used to, I guess, deface their character in some way. No, I really do.
Yeah,
I really do think it's a really quick, easy way to deface their character.
Yeah.
So that you can add some negative aspect to their personality without actually having to film any of it.
If Darren Aronofsky was directing this,
or even write any of it,
right?
You don't have to write any of their actual behavior into the script. You just say, "Oh, by the way, she's a prostitute."
Like if Aronofsky was directing this, it would be the most brutal
ass. There'd be 25 ass to ass scenes.
Yeah, you'd see it all. Now, is this Val Kilmer's best performance since Willow?
I can't believe you just said that. The answer is yes.
I'm looking over his filmography, and there's not that many things I've actually seen him in. Surprising, because like he's a pretty well-known person.
Shoot.
All the random movies he's been in.
Yeah, let's hear it.
Okay, here I'm going to tell you the names of the movies that I've actually heard of. I'll narrow it down to that. Top Gun, Willow, The Doors, Tombstone, True Romance, Batman Forever, Heat, Oh, I saw this. The Island of Dr. Moreau. That was bad. Your favorite movie?
That actually is my favorite Marlon Brando movie.
Yeah,
it's The Island of Dr. Moreau.
The Saint, Pollock.
Hey, the Saint was good, by the way. I actually enjoyed that movie.
Wonderland, where he played John Holmes, pulled his penis out in that one. Entourage. Oh, Mine Hunters. Do you remember that? That was like stealth and in the stealth and SWAT style of filmmaking. Mine Hunters.
Whenever I see Val Kilmer, I immediately think Iceman, and that kind of ruins it for me.
Why? Oh, Top Gun. I was thinking of Marvel Comics, Iceman.
No. For anybody that's listening to this podcast that tells a little bit about Joel's personality, he immediately jumps to
X-Men?
Marvel Comics and X-Men.
Couldn't help it. All right, so we were talking about this before, Exhibit. I thought he did a great job. I thought he was a very good part of this movie. One of my favorite parts, actually.
His acting was good. I liked how he was introduced. It introduced his character by reading his rap sheet for the crime he committed. And the first thing they mentioned was sodomy, which got a little chuckle.
Yeah, he's a sodomite.
He's a sodomite, which is illegal in the South. Little fun fact: any act of sodomy is a crime. Sodomy, including fellatio, not just in the pooper.
I'll look into that in case I'm down south. Just in case.
Yeah, just keep your ween clean when you go down south.
Now, there was a very nice cameo for me of a certain female police officer. Her name is like very kind of, it's spelled very strangely, so this is how I think it's pronounced. Fairuza Balk. Fairuza.
She has a very distinctive face.
Oh, yeah.
Extremely distinctive, and I don't think any human being save an albino has skin that's whiter than hers.
By the way, you should know she co-starred with Val Kilmer in The Island of Dr. Moreau. Maybe we should watch that for the show.
Yeah. Whenever I see her, this is also strange, I immediately jump to American History X.
Yep. And prior to that, she was in The Craft.
She was in The Craft, and she has these teeth where when she starts laughing, it's never genuine or funny. It's scary.
She was in The Waterboy as well. Right after American History X, Waterboy.
They had very similar emotional content too.
I've always
American History X and Waterboy.
Yeah. I've always thought that she was attractive, and I thought she looked great. What do you think?
I disagree with you 100%. I find her disgusting. Her teeth are enormous.
We're gonna have to fight. We're gonna have to fight on this one. I think she's smoking hot.
I feel like if her mouth got anywhere near your genitalia, she'd be going home with it.
Slash it off.
She's biting it. She's taking it home.
No, she's great. I thought she was hot. I was extremely disappointed. There's a scene in it where Nicolas Cage and Fairuza Balk are in bed. Nicolas Cage is so drugged up.
On heroin.
And everything that he's just lying there while she is parading around in her lingerie. And they hint at a sexual encounter, but they never show it.
I think what happened was they were going to begin something, and he was so high in heroin that
he just couldn't.
he couldn't do it. And she got angry. I think he won out in the end because she probably would have bit his dick off.
Why was Nicolas Cage there were certain scenes in this movie where he changed the sound of his voice. You remember that?
I have it written down here, and it's not certain scenes. At 1 hour and 4 minutes into the movie, his voice changes for the remainder of the movie. And the movie is, I believe, 122 minutes long, so it's a little over 2 hours. So after an hour of the movie, after half the movie is over, he changes his voice, and it's very noticeable.
And annoying. Very annoying.
Yeah, he talks like this.
Yeah.
Kind of like a cha.
Yeah, that's a really
kind of like a C. There's like a CH like sound in everything he says.
Like I thought that was really obnoxious. Like through the whole movie, he's hunched over.
It's like he's talking with dentures in his mouth.
Yeah. Like
after half the movie is over, he puts in a pair of dentures and starts doing the rest of the movie with dentures in.
Like I can handle.
He went through 7 tubes of Fix-A-Dent.
Like he was all hunched over and slouched over, and I can handle like those weird things. But when he started talking like that, I'd had it.
I'm really glad that you brought that up. The hunching, his physical acting for having back pain or back problems,
yes,
was so over the top and unnecessary. I mean, if you have back problems where you don't need a cane or a walker or any other type of device to help you move, usually it's nuanced. But here, it's like he's walking like he's a robot.
he was slouched over the whole time
Yeah.
and walking funny and talking funny. So, he was a really unlikable, very unlikable lieutenant. You know,
But
I think that's the best I can say about him.
He was unlikable, but was he bad?
Again, yes, he was a very bad lieutenant. So there's truth in advertising.
But at the end of the movie, did he redeem himself? Did he become a quote unquote great lieutenant?
He was a bad captain. They promoted him.
Oh, you're right. He wasn't a lieutenant at that point. He was no longer a bad lieutenant. He became
bad captain,
and then redeemed to all right, captain.
Before we talk about the ending, which we need to talk about, let's talk about the infamous breakdancing sequence in this movie. For those who haven't seen it, there's a part in this movie where Nicolas Cage is doing drugs, he's smoking crack, right? He smoked crack, he did cocaine, and all of a sudden, was it like a loan shark or somebody that he owed money to entered the room?
It was a mafioso character that was hired. It was a mobster
guy.
Yeah, it was your stereotypical fat mobster Italian Don that was sent after him for stealing money from the son of a business real estate developer.
Yeah, some ridiculous thing like that. And then he comes into the room and Exhibit murders him. He shoots him and kills him instantly. But the best part of the scene is that Nicolas Cage says this infamous quote,
"Shoot him again. His soul's still dancing."
And then the camera in one take pans over from Nicolas Cage's face across the room to to a man wearing the exact same clothes of the guy who's just shot.
The guy, for people that haven't seen this movie or this scene, the guy is a stout,
he's a chubby,
older, white-haired
white guy,
man,
Italian guy.
The man dancing, who's wearing the exact same clothes, which is supposed to represent this individual's soul,
is young, fit. He's got a mohawk. It's like a green mohawk,
and is probably Latino or African descent.
And he's wearing
doesn't even vaguely resemble this person in any way.
And he's breakdancing. His soul is literally dancing. He's doing breakdance. This scene makes no sense whatsoever, at all. It's like it came out of another movie. I think like that scene would make sense if we saw more stuff like that during the course of the movie, but. Well, what'd you think of that? What'd you make of this extreme scene?
I loved Nicolas Cage's face in this scene was phenomenal. He has this like look of like childhood delight.
Oh yes,
where he is in complete wonderment over this man. He actually looks like Tom York singing, like they injected an extra chromosome into his body. Where for this scene,
he just has this.
He's got a little bit of Down syndrome.
It's worth seeing just for that.
Yeah, for anyone that hasn't seen this movie, go on YouTube and
look up Bad Lieutenant, His Soul is Still Dancing, and you will see what we're talking about.
Totally worth it.
Okay, let's talk about the ending of this movie. And I think this is important. It's worth discussing. All right, so in one of the last scenes of the movie, before this point of the movie, Nicolas Cage is in a lot of trouble. He owes money to the mob boss. The DEA is on him for manhandling an old lady, harassing people whose
grandson is
like a senator or something.
Yeah,
and he owes money to his bookie.
Yeah,
so he has all these problems. Oh, and he still hasn't solved the murder of these 5 people that he was supposed to solve in the beginning of the movie. So in the last scene of the movie, and this is not an exaggeration, people just line up in front of his desk.
This isn't like a metaphorical lineup. People literally line, like his bookie is online.
Yeah.
The guy that he shook down for money that had the mob sent after him is there. He was first in line, I think.
So one after the other, these people show up and they say, hey, your problem's solved.
The best part was the bookie came and he's like, hey, here's 10 grand. You owe me no money. Later.
You won.
Congratulations. Bye.
So he literally did nothing
to deserve any of this good fortune in any way.
Let's run down all the bad things he's done. So
there's no way that I'm going to be able to remember
all right,
even
so
half of the bad things
he
he's done.
He stole drugs from the evidence locker. He nearly murdered an old woman by cutting off her air supply. He forced...
because he didn't get enough sleep.
Yes.
He was beat up, tired, and because he was tired, he didn't feel like wasting his time talking to her. So he decides to threaten her by killing her friend.
So he does that. He sexually assaults a woman and does drugs with her. He rigs a football game
by pulling over.
He pulls over the football player.
A key player on the team.
Does he plant drugs on him, or did he have the drugs?
No, he had marijuana on him.
Yeah, okay. So he rigged a football game. He did some extortion, among many other things, right? So he's a very bad character, very irredeemable. So how did the movie end? Everything turns out great. No punishment, nothing. He gets promoted. How do you feel about that?
God, it's so fucking stupid.
And he does nothing to fix his problems.
He gets promoted. He cleans up his act, drug-wise and morally.
No, he doesn't. Does he?
Yes, he does for that one scene. But at the end, he goes back to drugs. But before that, at the award ceremony, everybody is clean. They show that by a waiter comes over, offers them wine. They're like, no, we're fine. We're all going to be drinking sparkling water, and they cheers with the sparkling water. Everybody in his family who was a drug addict is now clean.
Oh yeah, that's right. That's right.
Eva Mendes is now pregnant. They're happy together in love.
That's right. I forgot about that. She's pregnant.
Yeah, they're in love now. There's going to be another, maybe even worse lieutenant on his way. And well, I mean, he's probably going to start as a bad sergeant, work his way up.
You got to start somewhere. Private, whatever.
Yeah. He's going to be a bad patrolman first, and then he's going to go to bad sergeant, and then he'll be a terrible lieutenant. I think it's important, though, before you actually talk about the last scene itself, you talk about the very first scene of the movie, because they're linked together.
Yes, there was a man trapped in the prison. He was drowning. Nicolas Cage jumped into the water to save him. The last scene of the movie, Nicolas Cage is contemplating doing drugs again.
He literally has
like a pound,
like a dinner plate
filled with coke in front of him in a hotel room.
There's like 10 pounds of coke on it.
And the man who he saved in the beginning,
it's like $20,000 worth of coke. I don't know where the fuck he got it from.
Probably stole it from.
He just stole it, I guess.
Yeah. So the man he saved in the beginning reappears, and this time the roles are reversed, and he saves Nicolas Cage, I guess. And they go to an aquarium and they hang out.
The interesting imagery in this scene, though, is that they go to the aquarium and they're sitting equal to the floor of this enormous, shark tank. There's sharks swimming around, predators, and they're just sitting there, kind of at the bottom, drowning. Essentially, I guess that would be the imagery that it's supposed to conjure up, because initially the guy is in the first scene of the movie. The prisoner is going to drown and die, and here they're just sitting there at the bottom of this shark tank. They're not actually under the water; they're just sitting there outside of it.
Yeah, it was good. It was good imagery.
It was good imagery. I thought it was a pretty heavy-handed, forced draw for emotional content. I guess they were trying to show that he was drowning in his own self-destructive behavior, but that's kind of a stretch.
What do you think this movie cost to make?
I'm going to go with the same one that I did for the last podcast. I'm going to say 30 mil.
Okay. That's a very good guess. And how much do you think it actually made? Given this is an indie. This was essentially an indie movie.
60. I'm going to say they probably doubled.
This movie cost a grand total of, are you ready?
Go for it.
$25 million to make.
Okay.
And it only made $10 million.
Sorry, Werner.
Better luck next time, huh?
Yeah, I guess so.
But I'll tell you this, the critics loved it. They ate it up. It holds an 87% on Rotten Tomatoes.
The tomatometer.
Yeah.
Thermometer. Yeah.
Now, Ebert declared, Nicolas Cage is as good as anyone since Klaus Kinski at portraying a man whose head is exploding. It's a hypnotic performance. You agree with that? Hypnotic performance?
No. If it was hypnotic, I wouldn't have been laughing the whole movie. I would have been entranced. Isn't that what that insinuates?
Yeah, that's a good point. Yeah. All right, Martin, so on a scale of 1 to 5, how many stars do you give Bad Lieutenant Port of Call, New Orleans.
I had a great time watching this movie. The story was decent. The acting was, well, we talked about the acting at length, so I'm not going to bring it up again. I'm going to give it a solid 3. 3 out of 5.
Okay. I'm going to give this the exact same score that I gave the original Bad Lieutenant. A very low, almost teetering on a 2. I'm going to give it a 3. Just barely makes it for a 3, I think. It was well directed, right? It was nice. Nicolas Cage was insane. It's fun to he was fun to watch.
I'll tell you one thing. I got exactly what I was expecting and more from Nicolas Cage's performance.
It's up there with like Daniel Day-Lewis, like that in Where There Will Be Blood. Like it's that extreme and excessively over the top and look at me, I'm acting kind of thing, you know?
It is. It's Nicolas Cage doing his best to do that. He's not Daniel Day-Lewis.
No.
No one's Daniel Day-Lewis as far as acting is concerned.
Yeah, well, Daniel Day-Lewis, he didn't make The Sorcerer's Apprentice. So.
You're right. He didn't make Face Off.
Okay, so that's pretty much it for Bad Lieutenant. This is the worst title. Bad Lieutenant, Port of Call, New Orleans. That's the end of that. Oh, that's a tough movie to watch. Tough movie to review. Despite the fact that I'm giving it a positive score. It's tough. Would you recommend this to anybody?
If I knew the person and they were a fan of Nicolas Cage's over-the-top acting, absolutely. How about you?
I would recommend people go to YouTube and look at the individual scenes.
You wouldn't suggest that they watch the whole movie?
No. I'd tell them to go see the breakdancing scene, the old lady scene, the scene when he's in the pharmacy and yelling at that lady.
That was very funny.
That's a good. That's the extent as I would go with this movie.
Just out of curiosity, what do you want to review, I guess, next time? You want to do Island of Dr. Monroe?
No.
Jeez. All right. No. Why,
it's too close to my heart.
Well, whatever the case is.
Thinking the two movies that I'm thinking of, it's either Pandorum, because two movies that I know are going to be bad, so they'll be fun to review. So Pandorum or The Uninvited. Take your pick.
Okay, I agree with you. Since this is obviously something that's very novel to us, let's stick with the really shitty crap movies that are really easy to rip apart and review. How do you feel about that?
All right, next week's episode will be The Uninvited. This movie's so bad. Maybe we'll have a title for this next time. I doubt it, but we'll...
Yeah. I actually severely doubt that we will have a title.
We'll have a title. We'll see what we can do. Maybe we'll get a special guest because Michael has seen this movie.
Has he?
Yeah, he has. So maybe we'll get him on this. We can get another microphone.
Michael McDougal Fitzpatrick O'Flannery
O'Hara
Kennedy.
Yeah. We'll get him on the phone.
He's very Irish.
Yeah. I guess that does it for this movie. So see you next time.